Hello, friends. I just got done with the podcast. Awesome podcaster. One of the best podcasters I've been around. It was a therapist that she started moving out of therapy and just podcasting because, and this is a common theme, she realized that a lot of her clients were same problems over and over and over. And if you tell somebody how to help themselves or fix themselves, and they're still coming back to you, it means that they're not doing the work for themselves, right? We all have to do the work for ourselves to make sure that we're okay. And if we need help and direction on how to do that, then we obviously should reach out. But if we can't figure that out, then we need to, or basically aren't doing the work for ourselves. We can't place that burden on somebody else, right? You can't place it on your external environment. Healing is something that you have to do internally. You got to get to a state of peace and really be able to emulate that for the people around you. Now, um, if somebody else isn't there yet, you can provide guidance, right? But you really can't do something for somebody. We all have to do it for ourselves. I uh, have been in conversation with a lot of different orphanages and stuff overseas. And one of the orphanages I ran into, they're helping take care of this older gentleman who is paraplegic. And we helped him get him a wheelchair, but he still is in a lot of pain, like constant pain, can't get sleep. And, their medical facilities over there, non existent, basically don't have the kind of support that you need to really help somebody over there. And I told him, I said, the best advice that I can give you is just to lay hands on him and convince him that he's healed. But he's got to believe it. It doesn't matter what kind of healer you are. If you call yourself a healer, if the person you're interacting with doesn't believe it themselves, there's nothing you can do, right? We are the masters of our own vessel. Um, we're all one when you look extra dimensionally and go back to source. We come from source, and then we're accessing this reality through a vessel. So all these vessels are just that, right? Don't get too hung up on the vessel itself. That's how you know that you can create the state in this vessel. That's why fasting and meditation is so powerful. Because if you can get to a meditative state, it means you're no longer, and you can quiet the mind very easily. You no longer have any kind of emotional attachment to the exterior world or any kind of created reality, because it's all in conflict, right? It's when you look at it, it's working together, but at the same time, there's energies clashing. We see that in our environment. It's happening, and from the highest perspective, it's all totally natural and it's all one. We wanted to become separate from each other just so we could experience each other in a separate state. But knowing that, can we can create balance so that we can co-create and create equal give and take partnerships to co-create this reality. This is something that I've been teaching for a long time, and until we understand that that's where we're headed, we're always going to be trying to sell ourselves to each other and try and give ourselves some version of, the problem with that is you have to kind of create a lack in somebody else's psychology to convince them that they have something that you have to offer. We are all parts of a growing organism, and once we understand that we're all very unique in what we have to offer one another, and we can work together, then we can really kind of fit in together and create the kind of world that we want to create. I'm redeveloping my website for circuitbreaker.com. Hopefully by this weekend I'll have a fund me page where I can I'll give a short video on why I'm doing what I'm doing. Maybe I'll take a clip out of this video. I don't know. Um, so basically I'm just trying to create decentralized decision making, and it has less to do with me, right? If we're working together in an equal system where we're all treating each other equally and making the same amount of money, and then it really doesn't matter who creates it, right? But you've got to funnel it through somebody who understands that, right? The last thing you want to do is funnel it through somebody who's narcissistic and wants to keep more profits than anybody else, right? Because they're trying to create a lifestyle that's incongruent with true spirituality and trying to create equal abundance for all. I mean, imagine an expanding business model where we're all making the same. We're all making decisions for each other, but we're not trying to control one another, right? We're just coming to decisions on what we're going to create together. Then the decisions that we make would be the best decisions for the whole. The only power that we ever have, and this is what the system is designed to do, the only power that we ever have is the power to say no. And everybody should have the power to say no, right? If there's a decision that you are within a group of people that you're working with, and there's somebody that, or there's some decision that's going forward that's going to negatively impact you, you need the power to say no, right? We all need the power to say no. And that's something that we don't have in any present business model that we see, all the hierarchical models. If you were to work for somebody else, that employer relationship business model will make sure that you do not have the power to say no, and you need to speak up and say no. It's like, no, this is not a good idea. This is going to be bad. And so you need to be able to force, since you can't force people in positions of power to listen to you by saying no, and that decisions can overrule yours, it pulls you out. That's why everybody becomes coaches and consultants and all this stuff. The power to say no is the only power that we ever have. Yes, we can come to, and if we all come to the same conclusion and say yes, and we're all in agreement with yes, and nobody says no, I guarantee you that's the best decision that we can have for each other, right? Because it means that you're going to be creating something that's in the best interests of the whole instead of the best interests of the few. Yeah. I probably belabor this subject so many times on my YouTube channel. But all of that comes from developing the internal state. And the only way that we can get to that place and really is to be compassionate for one another, to see that we're all growing. And that's how you can emulate that for the people around you, because I would work with anybody. I don't think there's any one person in this world that I've met that I wouldn't be willing to work with. They were the ones, somebody else would have to disqualify themselves and probably pull away from me, because if you're thinking negatively about yourself, a lot of times it's unconscious, and you'll project that on the people around you and try to make them feel like, oh, they're not doing their part or whatever, right? And that's usually how that happens. It's always blaming the external reality on something that you're not being fulfilled with in your own, right? So I just wanted to get on here and just create a short video for you guys. Do what it is to make sure that you're connecting with your heart space and every heart space that's out there. And picture yourself connected with that. And if somebody's acting out or somebody's doing something, try not to let it affect your inner state of being. Because that's just, most of the time, the way that we all act, if we're acting negatively towards one another, it's usually unconscious, right? We're not doing it on purpose. And even if that person says they're doing it on purpose, it's because they still don't understand what they're doing to themselves. So have compassion for them, even if you got to cut them off, right? And sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to walk away. You don't have to actively do anything but just walk away, right? And so creating something where we're working together and that we can make decisions as to who we need to walk away from, I can't imagine a better scenario. I mean, if you have a group of people that unanimously agree that they need to walk away from an individual, then that individual needs to do some self-work, right? There's no doubt. And that's okay, right? It doesn't mean that you don't love them. It just means that It's like, hey, and that's actually the best way to love somebody, is by walking away and say, hey, look, you need have some work to do on yourself. I can't help you with this. Um, I can give you some advice and some things that you can do for yourself. And the advice from me is always going to be, do a morning meditation exercise, at least some kind of quieting the mind. Yoga is one of the best things that I've found, because you can move energy in the body, stretch, make sure that you're releasing things that need to get released, so you get at the right place all day long. And yeah, so that you're coming from the right place every day. And if you're not thinking negatively about yourself, you're not thinking about negatively about anybody else, because we've all been through all of it, right? We've all been through thinking negatively about ourselves, or conflicted mind, in a lot of different ways. But yeah, teaching. There's nothing more powerful if you can teach somebody how to heal themselves, because that empowers the individual. Then what kind of accomplishment is that for as a person, if you know that you actually were able to heal yourself of mind, body, and spirit, versus depending on somebody else. And that's where we will finally fall into co-creation, right? Where we start co-creating and creating things that we are good for us as a whole. So, love you guys. Have a beautiful day. I just want to make this short video for you, and we'll catch you on the next one.